Here we have verse 41 of the 10th chapter of the Gospel of John. We have seen Jesus departing the rather tense conversation that he was having with religious leaders there in Jerusalem. He walked out from their midst, and next we find him back at that place along the Jordan where he had originally apparently been baptized by John. It was at least the place where John had customarily conducted his ministry, and this is now the setting for this next little conversation that we have unfolding here. Jesus is there, returning to that place, as I say, presumably of his baptism, and others are coming as well. Of course, John is out of the picture at this point. He's been executed by Herod Antipas, but Jesus, who was there in that region, is now the object of those who are coming to hear him, and this is really the setting for this verse. So we have kai, the connective, and poloi. Polus, poloi, it's a Greek adjective. It can mean much or many. If it stands alone, as it does here, with the masculine plural nominative, then we would say many people. Masculine would suggest many men, but of course it's used generically in this setting. So, and many people are simply many. Aelthon, this is from erchomai, I come, third person plural. Aorist active indicative, second aorist verb. So many came. Pros, the preposition, takes the accusative, as we find here, to him. Whenever a verb implies motion, as it does here, then rather ordinarily than using the dative of direct object, the preposition is used as we find it here. So many were coming, prosauton, coming to him, kai, the connective again, and elegon, third person plural imperfect active indicative, and they were saying, hoti, that, and then iones, referring to John the Baptist. So John, men, is used usually in conjunction with de, so that combination would in English be something like on the one hand and on the other hand. That's a little bit too clumsy. Of course, in Greek it's somewhat more efficient, but that's the sense of it. So John on the one hand, semeion, the word for sign, a sign, this is the accusative, singular, a sign, epoiesen. This is from poieo, to make or to do. It's a third person singular, aorist active indicative. So a sign he did, uden, a very strong affirmation that John actually didn't do any signs. Again, this is an adjective. Standing alone, you'd simply render it as nothing. So a sign, he did nothing. John did no signs is really the force of it, but as I say, it's somewhat stronger than that simple translation would imply. It does say something about the credibility of the report. There's been no development of a mythology connected to John that he was a great miracle worker. In fact, just the opposite is the case, that plainly enough, John was able to move the masses not based on the fact that he performed miracles, but simply based on the gravitas, based on the power, the potency of his message. And that's borne out by this text as well. So the crowds were noticing that John did not do any sign. Panta, however, continues, all or every, this is the plural, accusative of this neuter adjective, so, or I should say demonstrative pronoun, and so but, and now here we have the other. So on the one hand, on the other hand, but on the other hand, as it were, all things. Hosa usually involves some kind of forever or whatsoever. That's the idea, kind of tough to translate, but all things soever. Apen, third person singular, aorist active indicative, that he said, all things that John Ionas said. Peri, preposition, takes the genitive concerning tutu, another demonstrative pronoun. This is the genitive, singular, masculine, concerning this man. Aleithei, true, adjective, it is true, and then ein, was, or the things that he said concerning him were true. So even though John didn't perform any signs, Nevertheless, he did predict the one who would come after him, and the crowd notices that everything that John had said concerning this one coming after him, that he would be greater than John, that he would do more magnificent displays of power than John, all of that, of course, turned out to be precisely the case as they observed the conduct of Jesus.